I finally committed to Montclair, and I don't know, it's just like really crazy because I'm not sure if I made the right decision, but I think I made the decision that I feel like I'll be alright with because I accepted to the EOF program and I have a scholarship, so it's definitely going to help me with the tuition, which I'm really happy about because we're poor. So, yeah, I just want to make this memory and archive it because I'm officially Red Hawk, and it's basically yesterday I made a decision that's going to impact me for the next 4 years, so fun. Brownie! That's cool. Actually don't look bad. Alright, what's up everyone? So this is Caesar Nova currently, and I'm doing a video diary for Theorizing Communication final project for Dr. Namov's class. So the first two videos I wanted to include because I felt like they were important in terms of the theme that I want to go over, which I think it was interesting when I first saw it because I was 17 in the first video when I first applied to Montclair, and honestly I didn't really think about anything when I made that video. I honestly did it because I felt like that's what my family was pushing me to do, and they were just like, go to college, you know, or do something. And I was like, sure, I'll go to college. And when I first did it, I ended up applying to undecided, which means that I didn't even have a major. I just took general education courses. So that being said, I was pretty much just trying to figure myself out while I was in college, and I wanted to pretty much figure out what was going on. Now, it's not to say that I didn't feel appreciated at all with college. I think that it was definitely interesting experiences that I had, and I wouldn't say I regret it at all. I think that right now for the future, as I turn 22 years old and I graduate, I'm recognizing that the normal path, people like to say, is something that I think I'm trying to get away from. A lot of people currently are going to grad school, and there's nothing wrong with that path at all. But I would think that I like to say that it's shaped by dominant expectations, and I think that in a way it's something that a lot of people are kind of forced to do, such as back when I was 17 and my family was telling me to go to college, and I was like, whatever, sure. And not to say there's anything wrong with that. I think sometimes people do things for others, as I get, because I'm like that too. But I decided to take a gap year and basically try to figure out myself a little bit and reflect on the path of my goal of ultimately being able to help people one day. And I don't know necessarily what that means yet in terms of career, but I want to just challenge myself in figuring that out. And so I like to think that the 30-second clip of the second video of the 4 years, and it's crazy how I think in a way it captures how fast time goes. Just 4 years, 48 months of college definitely gives you a way of transforming and growth. And I like to think that it shaped my understanding of culture, you know, the systems around me, honestly, in Montclair, since it's really just diverse. Like, pretty much, if you want to find something over there, you're going to find it. It's a big school. And I think that I like to question everything a lot with certain ideas, especially with my double major in social media and PR, as well as justice studies, with the discussions that I've had with just students, as well as professionals, as well as just anybody else. I like to say that it kind of helped me with figuring out exactly what I wanted to do in the future. Now, when it comes to the future and I guess what I would want to develop one day, I would say that I definitely am open to doing more vlogs or podcasts. I think I'm much of a yapper. I can pretty much talk for days on end, and I just like to hear other people's thoughts. And I think sometimes a podcast is something where you could pretty much just create a safe space for different voices, have different people listen to them, and you could just put that as background music like I do when I do homework. I pretty much just listen to podcasts and get more information on what's going on. And I think it's important for people to know that you definitely have a voice at the end of the day. Vlogs, I think, are pretty cool too. I think that in a way it's kind of like a time capsule, I like to think of it, such as, you know, when you're just recording yourself on a trip, or you're recording yourself just an experience such as graduation or prom or anything significant like a birthday. And I think it's like something to look back to, and it's pretty cool of just being able to see everything and being like, damn, like, can't believe this happened, you know? I don't know, like, I didn't even remember making that video when I first started it, and when I went back to it, I was like, wow, like, it's crazy how much like things have changed and stuff. You know, that PP style is still there, but it's like everything else is just definitely changed in the way that my headspace is. So honestly, with the vlogging, I do want to figure out content that I think could be pretty much helping others. Now, what that means is that I think I want to create an honest and relatable capsule of just work that people pretty much can do. I like to record things like nature, just like sights, or just, you know, people just chilling, because I think sometimes it's just really hard for people to realize that you could just like sit and just listen to the bird noises, or, you know, pretty much see what's the nature around you. And I definitely think I'd be open to just pretty much recording just nature and just talking while you just see said nature. Now, when it comes to the theory that I think helped me understand what I want to do for myself in the future in terms of being able to help others with vlogging and podcasting, I think it would be hegemony, which is very interesting. A lot of people pronounce it differently, but I'm going to say hegemony in this video. I like to think of it's being associated with a type of form of power or connected to power. I wouldn't say it's about brute power. Oh wow, speaking about power, that's a nice frog waller I saw. I wouldn't say it's brute power, but I think that's connected through everyday systems, and it's more of an ideological field that different members of group come from. And it's interesting that in a way a lot of people kind of don't understand that there is power when it comes to numbers. And I think that when you create something, or you're belonging to a certain category, you categorize yourself, you end up just distributing yourself to that said power, even without noticing it or realizing it. And I think that's definitely interesting, with it just being something where people never really know. And I remember this TikTok that we watched in class. It was from, I like to say, Eric Liu's TikTok, about how civicship is about the collection of others pretty much voting for one similar thing. When you come together, it's pretty much a big thing that happens at the end of the day. You know, when it comes to just deciding to come together for a protest, or deciding to come together to a vote, it does mean that there's power, even if you may feel like you're powerless, no matter if you're belonging to minority or gender or whatever else. And I think that's definitely something that I kind of try to wrap my head around, and I try to basically take a step back and realize, like, oh, you know, at the end of the day, you're not powerless. You actually got the power. You just got to be stubborn and do it. And sorry about that. My dog was pretty much finding a playmate. But as I was saying, I like to think that in the future, before we go back to hegemony, I am aware that I think the way it works is sometimes there's things such as good power, and then there's also things such as bad power. And I think when it comes to there being a large group of people, they can either do things in a good way or do things in a bad way, and that just comes with life in general. I would say that, as it was taught in class, hegemony is something that is domination by consent. So even without pretty much, I guess, saying like, yes, we want to do this, we pretty much are dominated by the social structure, such as most people going to college right after high school, since that's the norm. Or, you know, half people I know are going to master's going for it and studying in grad school. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with that, as I do want to go back to school and go approach my master's next year. But I think that what's different about me as I turned 22 today is I realized that there's large groups that make something where it seems as normal, and that's pretty much society, I'm trying to say. And I think that what I want to do is be aware of it, not to say fight the anarchy, but also just say, hey, maybe I want to do something different, and that's okay. So I'm going to see if we go on an internship soon and get that work experience and go back to school next year, and maybe go to school in New York instead of New Jersey. I think it'll be an interesting experience, just pretty much changing my pathways. And I think with the tech that I can do in the meantime, such as vlogging and podcasting, my awareness of pretty much hegemony can help me seem more natural, I think, and also just have that voice of saying that it's okay that you don't have everything figured out, you know, no matter what age you are, 22, 21, 18. And it's also okay if you're not always perfect, because I think that society always likes to say that we are, but we're not, and that's okay. Now, I like to think that in the future, I could be more authentic and try to push myself out there more, and pretty much just, I don't know, vlog on a random Tuesday, or do a podcast in the middle of the day and just pretty much talk to people through my phone. And you basically see how everything goes from there after my gap year, after graduation. And, you know, I think that hegemony is something that a lot of people don't know about, but it's something that we all practice. And I like to think that while it's also important to know that you shouldn't have to basically follow what other people say, you could also just be aware of it and maybe embrace it, because there's nothing wrong with that as well, such as celebrating holidays or also celebrating a birthday. And like I said earlier, I am technically 22 today, so we're gonna pretty much make a little wish for the future and hope everything goes by well. All right, sorry about that. My dog wanted to come in. So pretty much, as I'm trying to wrap this up, with hegemony, I would say that it's something that a lot of people should be more aware of. And I think that that's what I try to keep in the back of my head, that, you know, society tries to put us in a norm that isn't always going to be something that we would like to do or want to do. And I think there's nothing wrong with pretty much just saying no to it, and just saying that you would want to pretty much change something about yourself. So as I wrap this up, I hope that everyone has a great day, and I hope that you basically are informed by my presentation. And here's to the future. This is my dog Brownie, by the way. Take care. All right. So I just got off my shift and we are heading out. It's kind of weird that I'm basically walking. I guess you could say as I'm walking, I'm gonna try to explain why I decided to do a little vlog. To be honest, I just wanted to torture myself a little bit, and I think that this was a nice way to get into that fashion. I think that when it comes to being creative, you always got to push yourself off the box. And I think even though I was a little bit terrified of it, I'm glad that I did it. It was an interesting experience, just figuring out how to do video formation as well as just editing. And I think this was the best way for me to express myself creatively. And I wonder when I'll just look back at this, and maybe in 4 years when I'm 25, I'll see how it goes. You know, I think that it's definitely interesting the way that a video can be, because you'll basically just see the movement and how everything goes, and just the interest in that. And I don't know, it's kind of bittersweet just leaving right now and seeing how my whole future is. I gotta do more finals and stuff, so I'm a little bit exhausted after a long day of school, but we're here. So yeah, until next time.